이모가 애기 씻길 때 사탕을 물리거든요. 목욕이 얼마나 달콤한지 가르쳐준다고. 왜 그러세요?
입안이 자꾸 베어. 이 하나가 뾰족한가 봐.
Throughout this podcast, I think it's safe to say that we've given South Korean cinema its due. Two of our first episodes were Bong Joon-ho's Parasite and Snowpiercer. And during our zombie month, we talked about Yeon Sang-ho's Train to Busan. However, one of the most prominent South Korean directors, Park Chan-wook, has gotten little attention from us. Park Chan-wook rose to international stardom with the Vengeance trilogy in the early 2000s. The most famous of the three was Oldboy, which, much like its main character, Odesu, burst onto the scene explosively. Odesu was arrested for public drunkenness, kidnapped, and framed for the murder of his wife. After 15 years, he is released suddenly and tries to hunt down and get vengeance on his unknown captors. After those three psychological thrillers, Park Chan-wook stopped experimenting in that genre for a bit and branched out with the vampire movie Thirst, I'm a Cyborg and That's Okay, and tried English language filmmaking with Stoker. He also served as the producer for Bong Joon-ho, his close friend, on Snowpiercer, with his company Moho working on the production. Park Chan-wook returned to South Korean psychological thrillers in 2014 when he announced his intention to adapt Sarah Waters' crime novel Fingersmith. Tonight we're going to be talking about that adaptation, Park Chan-wook's 2016 psychological thriller, The Handmaiden. Of course it's June, which means that it's Pride Month, and every movie we're going to be covering has LGBTQ themes. The Handmaiden is an adaptation of Fingersmith, which was written by Welsh novelist Sarah Waters, who put queer and lesbian themes into her Victorian-era novels. Fingersmith is a novel about a lesbian affair between a pickpocket and a Victorian-era lady. Sue, the orphan pickpocket, is trying to help scam Maud Lily into marrying gentlemen so they can steal her fortune.
우리 나리마님은 세상 부자 중에서 제일 서책을 사랑하는 분이셔. 세상의 서책 애호가 중에 제일 부자시고. 총독부에도 연줄이 있어서 전기까지 끌어다 쓰는데 이런 데게 왔으니.
Park Chan-wook took the Victorian novel and transported it to the 1930s, with Korea suffering under Japanese imperial occupation right before World War II. Two young actresses, Kim Min-hee, who was discovered among 1,500 auditions, and Kim Tae-ri, who was in Korean commercials, play Lady Hidaku and Suki. One thing I thought was funny is the character Sue in Fingersmith gets called Suki as a pet name, so for Park Chan-wook to keep that is a cute touch. England, although no longer the setting, is not stripped out of the story either. The Japanese, in their drive to be taken seriously as an imperialist power, fetishized German and English culture. Likewise, many Korean collaborators fetishized Japanese culture, and The House and the Handmaiden brilliantly shows that, being both Japanese and English in design. The Handmaiden is known for its erotic scenes, which depict the lesbian affair in vivid detail. Lady Hideko is stuck living with her cruel book-collecting uncle, who married her Japanese mother and then died, leaving her a fortune. The con man, who is going by the sobriquet Count Fujiwara, plots to steal her fortune before her uncle can by marrying her and eloping. He ropes Suki into that plan, having her pretend to be a new maid for Lady Hidaku. Pornography plays a huge role in this movie. The books, which Hidaku's uncle collects and forces her to help him prepare to read, are pornographic, erotica. And I would definitely argue that the scenes between the two lovers are a visceral echo of that obsession. This will definitely be an interesting film for us to discuss as the first entry into our Pride Month watch-through. Anyway, before I introduce the panel, let me say, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Also, we are now monetized, so if you have any pressing questions during this live show, send us a super chat. We are absolutely obligated by international law, human rights law, to answer it. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. All of our after parties are available on there forever. Okay, let me introduce the panel. Conan Neutron, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, host of Protonic Reversal, and frontman for Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. J. World, illustrator, book cover artist, comic designer, and artist for Give Them an Argument, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza and Bad Takes. Christina Oakes. You can find her streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/cosmopolitics, and she is organizing our Big Gay June Extravaganza. Matt Strackbein, aka The Letterhack. You can find his art at The Letterhack on Twitter or Friends of Strackbein on Instagram. I, of course, am your pickpocketing host, Japanese nobleman, and definitely not conning you out of a fortune, Count Forrest Miller. Without further ado, it's Big Gay June.
I feel like when all the brands like go with the rainbow flags. I feel like that's what we've done.
This was our logo. I did the same thing to our logo.
Yeah, that I saw. Yeah.
I have to do a little mea culpa. I mixed up Kim and he had a career like before this movie. Kim Tae-ri did not and was discovered among 1500. So I mixed up their names in the intro.
We regret the error.
Well, I knew that someone was going to be like, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
snap correction.
Actually,
There's
a bunch of videos that are like, Kim Tae-ri talks about how big a fan she is of Kim Min-hee's work. And I was like, fuck, I know I mixed those two up. And
got it twisted.
Because our audience is very concerned about this stuff.
I get weird comments sometimes. Some
people are.
There's on the Sam Cedar episode, we got one name wrong, and somebody found that in the 2.5-hour episode and was like, actually, this is the name you were looking for. And it was like a similar name. And I was like, all right, well, it's a similar name, but what am I going to do? That's why I don't respond to a lot of the comments that people leave.
The correct answer to that is, let's hear your show, cocksocket. But anyway, Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I just want to say again, that intro theme song is so good. Like, I'll listen to that before my live stream just to get like pumped up, because it's got one of those like, I love seeing Rocky run across the screen for one.
That's what I was gonna say. It gets you hyped with the Rocky one.
But it's like that driving kind of song where it's just like building and building, and then it's great. That's a good one.
Well, thank you very much. That makes me feel you're doing great. You're buttering up one of the hosts. It's awesome.
the one that needs the most buttering up too. Like I don't expect that. Well, I don't expect the buttering up. I don't know. Like
Well, it's really well researched opening as well. Like that has got to take time, right? Yeah. Like that's not something that you just do a few minutes before you go live. Like you work on that. I usually do it. Since we've been doing a week in between episodes, I usually do it like a few days before. But this one took less time than like a lot of them have, because I kept it.
Some of them are like Joycean epics. I mean, they're like there's a lot to cover, But anyway, yeah.
Well done.
If you want to get the triumvirate, you can also compliment Andy's art, but I don't know if there's like a.
This is the thing. Like, I have to be careful there because I will go off. Like, that guy is one of my favorites. Like, I love everything that Andy does. He is a genuine, like, it's like I run the risk of being starstruck. I don't want to freeze up, but like his stuff, like, and there was one in particular, like he did like a Pulp Fiction spoof one time, and I was dying. And it was about Rachel Maddow. Do you remember this? Oh. It's not fresh in my brain. I just know that was one of my favorites.
Oh, I think I remember this one. I remember you did the Pulp Fiction one when they're in the car. And they're like, what do you call a Michael Brooks show?
Oh, yeah, for Ben, like a while back. Yeah.
I was dying.
This is like when people talk about really obscure parts of my back catalog. I'm like, wait, what? What are you talking about? Oh, right, yeah. I remember that one.
It was like 4 years
I remember
ago.
that one because it was the first Andy art that I saw that was like specifically for Give Them an Argument, I'm pretty sure.
It was
and
so
I remember,
good.
it was like, what do you call a Michael Brooks show in France? Like, oh, well, that one's a Michael Brooks show, but, we just call that like lay Michael Brooks show.
That's why if he and I were going to have a draw off or an
terrible idea. Nobody's
we would
looking
have
for that,
to like be seated in an arena. It would have to be like official. I'd have to like prep.
The Star Trek fight music starts going.
Yeah, I'm not
By
going
the way, Matt, I'm going with this for the
oh, nice.
the
Yeah,
logo.
there you go.
I am.
Hey, So first of all, I can't believe that Big Gay June stuck. I did not expect that. But
Yeah,
I was kind
I
of
kept
going for movie
messaging-
night extravaganza, but
when I was booking, like there was a couple people that I was trying to book, and I kept being like, "Look, it's called Big Gay June. I think we're gonna workshop it."
yeah, I did not. I in no way, shape, or form thought that was going to be a final title, and I still am not convinced. But I mean, it doesn't make me laugh every time. But you know,
Big Gay. It's like
Big Gay Tune.
it's like one of those brands that gets really heavy-handed about their like whatever. But like
Right.
this isn't Target this month. This is Target. And you know.
Is that a thing? Is that real? Is that a thing they did, or is that a joke?
No,
Oh, people
they're
call it
taking down their
Target.
Pride Month
Yeah.
displays.
Well, Target I've heard of, but Target I have not.
I was trying to think of one off the top of my head.
That was pretty good. That's pretty
Yeah.
good. That's a good one. Hey, kicking off on the Handmaiden though, I think is good because not the least of which is a kick-ass movie. But this is there's gonna be a lot of different kinds of movies that we're gonna be covering. I love Park Chan-wook. I love that Park Chan-wook became known for a certain type of movie, which is to say these like violent revenge movies, and then decided to pretty much done what I can do for that. So I'm going to do other stuff now. And in that same way, Decision to Leave, which is basically like his Vertigo that came out last year, also incredible and different from The Handmaiden, different from Stoker, different from all these other films. He's just a really talented filmmaker. And I'm actually kind of surprised it's taken this long to get to any of his stuff because it's all pretty. I think we had a couple of his movies that were like in the on the list, the list that we go through. We just never got around to it. But I think that apropos of nothing, first of all, this is a egregiously horny movie. Of course, I think that must be said.
Yeah.
But it's a really great film, and it makes you think about things like the Rashomon effect and stuff like that. I just have to take it on faith that people that are going to be watching or listening to this episode have seen the film and don't expect that we can. There's no way to discuss this without spoilers, but this does like one of the rare double head fakes.
Yeah, the only way
and
you
lands
can discuss
it.
without spoilers is to do a three. You'd have to do each
The three-part.
Oh yeah.
Like everybody needs to turn this off. And then part two
Yeah.
or something. You'd be like, look, there's some spoilers in part two. You'd be like,
Yeah.
in part three. But the book is also designed in that exact same format. I read half of Fingersmith. It's a really fucking long book, so I didn't. But it's kind of designed in the same 3-chapter format where it's like part one. Is,
Yeah.
up until she gets taken to the. So that's the first big fake.
And then you re-examine, and like that's so. One thing I love about this so much is that it's about kind of deception and perception both at the same time.
Yeah.
And
I visibly, because I hadn't gotten to that point in the book, and then I was watching the movie
What?
the
I don't
day after
read
we
it.
got back from our
books.
our big
How dare you.
Caterwall, our big Well, they don't like books in here. They
Are there
destroyed that
pictures?
whole library and stuff. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so I visibly went like. And then when that first twist, I was like, "Oh fuck!" And then the second twist happened, and I was
You're
like,
like,
"Oh my god, they're
oh,
teaming
yeah.
up! Whoa!" It's like that Avengers meme that was going around. Like it's like the crossover you didn't expect or whatever. Like, whoa!
Right.
They're teaming up to get back at the men. Like that's a double.
Well, and when this came out, and since I'm a Park Chan-wook fan, all I heard about it was just how brashly horny it was. That's it. And I was like, look, that's like the number 5 thing that I would say about this. Now, granted, it is notable. Like, don't get me wrong, but
It's like Bound. Bound is also very horny, but also a fantastic crime film.
there you go.
Kanye West
that
music
film.
video where she's on the back of the motorcycle. So that's Bound too.
But it also is like, and Forrest, you kind of, I'm sure you want to kind of speak to this a little bit too, but it tells a really interesting tale about the timeline where it's the occupation of Korea and these comfort women and like this like real interesting part of history that honestly Western audiences don't know that much about. And I think that's to me just as fascinating, if not more so. And I'm curious, Matt, you hadn't actually seen this before, right? You hadn't seen this one?
I had
Okay.
it in 2016.
Like when it came
Whenever.
out. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
The one thing, so at the time that I saw it originally, I did not realize it was based on a book, and I didn't either.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was that there was a change to make it not Victorian, right? I thought it was an original movie. So I'm glad though, because I am so burnt out on British Victorian era stuff, mainly because I can't ever tell how much of it is fictionalized and how much of it is real. It's like when you watch an American Western, you're like, yeah, I know this isn't how it was, right? It wasn't that clean. It wasn't like gunfights in the streets and stuff. I know that's all BS.
Well,
Exactly.
and it came out. The book came out in like 2002, which there was a lot of. I mean, most of it would be like the Da Vinci Code, but there was a lot of like revisionist novels. I feel like that was like a popular thing where it's like set in like historical things, and people just keep making up stuff about the historical things. I mean, I guess it's been taken to like its zenith with Quentin Tarantino just like killing Hitler in fucking Inglourious Basterds.
I don't know that I ever saw anything in this period for Korea. Like,
No,
I'm
it's
just not sure. It felt fresh.
Have you not seen The Good, Bad, the Weird?
I feel like that's this show.
Maybe.
Which basically imagine
wait a
like
second.
somebody
Which is
doing...
which is the bad?
Yeah,
I never said who was who.
I'm the good.
but basically, it's like if somebody took like The Good, Bad, the Ugly and mashed it up with Jackie Chan and set it in this same time period in Korea, and you got yourself a movie.
I think I did see that.
It's
I
definitely
think
worth watching if you have.
You don't have to humor him. It's okay.
This came out around the same time as Kung Fu Hustle, right?
I think a little after, but yeah, roughly.
Okay, yeah. I seem to remember a Gatling gun or something.
Yeah, there was
Anyway.
a Gatling gun in it.
Okay, yeah.
There's some train robberies. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay, I know this. Yeah, that was
Every
good.
time I
Very
think of-
stylized.
That's the only other movie I can think of that was set in this period in Korea that I've seen.
Every time I think of Kung Fu, I just think of everybody was Kung Fu fighting.
Yeah, exactly. It came out on my birthday, December 10th.
That I actually,
1974.
it was funny. Last night we were trying to get my community guest songs, just listening to a few seconds, and one person was like getting them all, and then everyone was like, "How do you know these songs?" And I'm like, "You guys grew up in the '70s and you don't know half of these songs."
Because they were listening to songs from the 50s. Or
Probably.
The 40s.
I should have started with the '50s.
But you know what? And the other thing that I want to say about this movie, just right off, is that, and because I've read critiques about how like, oh well, the sex scenes were very pornographic. They didn't do anything you wouldn't see in a porno film, and I just did not feel
That's not
that
true
way.
at all.
No,
I mean-
porno films are not artfully shot.
Exactly. Like even out of the context of the movie, I wouldn't be like, oh, this is
I mean, you might
internet
see
fodder or
them
something.
on-
Like that.
You might see a lot of those scenes like on Pornhub just because it's like, ooh, a movie with some graphic sex scenes. Ooh, and I'm like, well, that's.
It's so
I feel like
it's
it's cheating when they use scenes from a movie and they put it on like Pornhub and they're like, "Here's support for you." It's like, I know where that's from. I've seen it.
I saw that in the theater.
That's funny.
But also, like it's done artfully, right? Like some of those shots are actually very hilarious. Like I mean, not like in the just as like on their own. Like it's not meant
Certain
to be.
points of view. Like,
Yeah, it's not meant to
there's
be
that camera
exploited.
right now, you know.
Well,
Right.
and so the way that it was shot, Park Chan-wook made all the men get out of the room. It was actually shot very artfully. So he made all the men get out of the room,
Right.
including
Harvey
himself.
Weinstein would
And-
never do that.
and he used a remote camera. So the camera was actually operating on its own in the room with these, with two young actresses, one of which was a pretty a pretty well established actress, as I did the Mia Culpa about.
Pretty well known in her field. Right?
But Kim Tae-rae was a brand new actress that they just found for this movie out of all these auditions, and was kind of going along with stuff, and he didn't want to make it awkward for her, so he kind of had his so he had
oh, check this out. This is a visual gag, but I wasn't thinking about this. I'm drinking Ghost Seltzer. Sorry. Please continue.
we're gonna be kicked off of Twitch now with their new advertising guidelines.
Dude, if we got Polar as a sponsor, I would be pumped.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
Sick. Anyway,
You're right down the street from me.
that's right. This is brought to you by Ghost Polar Seltzer, the best seltzer that's undead.
You know what?
Brought to you by Polar Seltzer.
Look at this.
Yeah,
Coca-Cola.
heard of this obscure
Suck my
brand?
dick.
Whoa.
Brought
But what's interesting too is
Is that their
Yeah,
new slogan?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is that like the Kissinger slogan? He's like, Coca-Cola, suck my dick.
Anyway, sorry.
But,
What were you continuing before I accidentally did a visual
I
gag?
was actually going to go back to what we were talking about to say that Park
shit.
Chan-wook approached the scenes much like how Rob Rodriguez did in Desperado,
Right.
where he tried to, they didn't have all the automatic equipment that they have now. Robert Rodriguez just had the absolute minimum people to film that sequence with Selma Hayek, because this was the first time she ever did a love scene in a film. So,
right.
It was kind of a big deal, and he wanted to make her as comfortable as possible, and that was his goal for the whole thing. So, I appreciate the fact that Park Chan-wook also did something similar.
I don't think.
By the way, I like when I press the
understand.
comments, you see the dream of the fisherman's wife behind us.
Oh yeah. The background. What's that, Christina?
I don't think a lot of people understand. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, sex scenes! It must be so much fun to film," and I'm like, "No, they're not." Like, I remember. I don't know if you guys remember the film Unfaithful with Diane Lane and Olivier Martinez, which is based on The Unfaithful Wife, which was a French film. And she's like,
it's about being unfaithful. That one, right?
Literally, love it though.
But like, those fucking French, they're always so goddamn unfaithful.
They had to like set the mood, make like the set very steamy, like do all these different things just to get the actors comfortable. But I'm like, it doesn't seem like
that sounds like the air today. Very steamy.
I got an Apple News alert about that right before air. Whoa! All right.
Do you think it's embarrassing, like if the director's like, cut, this is terrible. You guys are not doing it.
Oh yeah,
right.
no, 100%.
I mean,
here, let me show you how to do
it. Some films actually do like real sex scenes, and they get debuted at the Cannes Film Festival, and it gets a whole like big ordeal, and I'm like, some directors.
That was the whole thing they made fun of in Disaster Artist with The Room.
Yeah.
Tommy Wiseau put the fucking, because they do the sock or whatever, the intimacy sock or whatever, and he put it over it, and he was like, "I do a real sex scene for you right now," and like he was directing his own like highly uncomfortable sex scene.
It's just a lot. It's almost as if people assume that those like more like foreign films, there's not as much censors, so the scenes could be a bit more like graphic, more detailed than like in American films, because we're so like conservative, but yet we're kind of like perverts in private. But I'm just like,
like the uncle in this film.
I was gonna say, just like all those dudes dressing up to go hear erotic stories and go and tug at their collars.
Yeah,
as they all dress up in their finest to go, have erections too. Thank you. Anyway,
was that a real thing? Burlesque readings? Was that? Does anyone know? Is that
there's
legit?
things called live sex shows, like.
Yeah, probably.
Well, yeah, but I guess it's one thing it's just like, but I guess like it's a hot chick doing it, right? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
And the other thing too is like we got to remember too, just like this art, this stuff that they're reading was the first time like it was art for the masses, with the in that period of Japan where he's kind of collecting a lot of this stuff from. It was the Edo period, where it was kind of like the beginning of the middle class in Japan, where there actually was like and the middle class had access to the arts through prints and whatnot, and so like this was like so things got really lewd because they sold well. And then of course there were 3 times in the Edo period where the shogun banned what they called shunga, which is basically porn. It
was their version of Cinemax,
basically. Yes. And whenever they got banned, the things got weird too in the shunga that was being produced, because like now it's like, oh, it's risque. Yeah, we're gonna draw dogs and women banging.
And that was like when trying to watch Cinemax when it was scrambled, and you're like,
Yes.
I think I see a nipple. Yeah.
So
that's why I don't understand why HBO Max became Max, and I'm like, you guys are really just asking for it, especially with the Idol debuting now.
Yeah.
So the Dream of the Fisherman's Wife book is obviously Japanese from that period. The Ants reading from The Plum and the Golden Vase, which is a late Ming Dynasty book of letters, like love letters or whatever. So like a lot of the stuff I think in this movie comes from a lot of different cultures, which makes sense for the time and for like colonial Japan. Like I found it kind of fascinating that the house, they were like, oh, this is the one house in the whole East Asian region or whatever that's like both like a British, like half British design and half Japanese design. Like each half of the house is like a different thing, because this guy is seeing himself as someone who's cultivating. I mean, even though he's Korean and he thinks that Korea is like a degraded country, he's trying to cultivate this image as being both Japanese and English at the same time, which are, the two great colonial powers in this era.
He's aspirationally trying to kind of shine himself into those more prestigious cultures.
It has a lot of resonance with something like Get Out, I think, right? Like, which came out, I think, a year after this. I think it was 2017, but like it's the same kind of resonance of, number one, the weird all the like high class people sitting around and like bidding on people, which they did the same kind of bidding war in this, but also the dream of like being Japanese and embodying that as a different kind of person, as a different ethnicity, which in America we don't necessarily think of these things as vastly different, but like they definitely do in Asia.
Well, for sure, and the politics of it are really screwed up. Like there's definitely like echelons. Like basically, to make a long story short, everyone looks down on the Koreans.
Yeah.
Like there's all these like internecine, this one doesn't like that one. These guys think they're the best at this. But everyone just like Koreans are considered like bottom of the food chain in Asia, and therefore we're literally like the women were taken as chattel and as comfort women.
And so just this year, back in March, they finally reached an agreement between Japan and and South Korea, where finally they're trying to handle the issue of comfort women from this time period, because they're trying to build their relations up to fight against China, because now China is the great power that they're all trying to go up against. But a lot of people in South Korea still really hate the Japanese for torturing them,
generational crimes against them. Yeah, I mean,
but
for good reason.
Which still has their conservative Shinzo Abe inspired government, I guess, refused to pay them any money. So the South Korean government now has to pay its own citizens as of this year for the sex slavery that Korean women were sold into and killed in mass.
Wow.
Well, and so one of the many things I love about The Handmaiden is that it's a big part of the storyline. It's not the main storyline. It's just like a this is water kind of thing. This is just like where this is all taking place, because the whole thing of it being like, okay, people are trying to like the Count, if you will, is trying to such as he is.
1, 2, 3.
There it is. Is like aspirationally, trying to like run a grift, right? He's trying to like, it's sort of the FU got mine of its time, where there's a lot of that, and that's happening in different ways. The thing also to note about the house is, I mean, he's basically a collaborator. Right with it, I mean, like the entire house.
That's exactly what he is. And there's the moment where they talk to they're in the house where it's the actual like criminals that are like supposedly the bottom of the food chain. Right. But the first thing the guy says is like fucking bastard. But I mean, he stutters it, and I don't want to mock do his stutter. But there's like this anger towards someone who's at the the highest point of Korean society, but is this collaborator with the Imperial Japanese. And because he's no longer welcome in Korean society at all, because he's a fucking traitor, he's trying to embody this thing where the people in Japan will never, they're always going to look down on him.
Never. In his children's grandchildren's grandchildren would never be looked upon as an equal. Ever. Because that's how far back this goes.
Yeah, they see him like almost like the way that Americans would see like Mexicans or something in the in the 1800s. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. Even more so, it's like, and because we're not talking about hundreds of years, we're talking about thousands of years of discrimination, right? And so you have this Japanese woman that he's trying to bilk out of the inheritance. That's the first layer of the onion. And it's sort of like seen as like almost like, well, yeah, it's selfish, but like I'm gonna do this because they have it all, et cetera, and then what I love it is it's just there's so many plot twists with it that like make you re-examine the character's motivations, right? Like the whole thing about and again, I don't know why you're watching or listening to this if you are worried about spoilers, but like the wrong person getting like put into the asylum, right? Like that's such a like, oh my god, that's crazy, because it's sort of like, oh yeah, that's pretty much a death sentence.
That in itself is insane. That
would be enough.
That always blows me away that somebody can just have somebody committed. And there was a lot of this like, it's funny because there was a lot of slapping in the movie, and it just felt like there was one slap in the face after another, like metaphorically speaking, right? But like the ability, like there were people were holding their own ability over other people as like a power move, right? Like the ability to read, the ability to speak or read other languages, sex, right? Literally slapping, but and then just being able to say like this person needs to be in an asylum, and they're like, okay,
That
if
sounds
you say
good.
so.
Well,
That
there's,
to me is
and
crazy.
there's
No
there's so many
problem.
layers of it because the movie is both in Korean and Japanese, and you know you're getting
That's
that
why I like the
information.
subtitles.
Yeah,
White
Yeah.
and yellow subtitles to let you
Yeah,
know which
which-
language. That was great.
I gotta say, I watched a Jackie Chan movie set in this time period where you know it's supposed to be China invade, you know, when Japan took it over, and it was really hard to follow because like there's this joke about them not quite communicating, and like I'm not hearing it. There's no separation of the subtitles, and like I had a hard time following this weird esoteric joke in this Jackie Chan film, and like the moment that thing came up on the screen, I'm just like, man, that is brilliant right there, because it said right at the very beginning, you know, Japanese is in yellow, Koreans in white, and I'm just like, all right, I'm with you.
I subjected myself to those 365 days films on Netflix that became a hit during the pandemic, and of course he's Italian, she's Polish. But there's also some like English.
Do they have subtitles for them too?
They do, but you couldn't really tell who was, you know, again, there was no difference, you know, it's like, you know, it was all, you know, just like white subtitles. And
you gotta look at the hands.
Yeah.
Oh! And then the other ones.
God, that 20-minute sex scene on the
one
boat,
one person's hands are like this, the other person's hands are like that.
Oh,
oh God.
Yikes. Okay.
Anyway, moving on from that.
Moving on, yeah. But it's important to note because even like a Japanese child is considered to be of greater social stature than adult Korean, right?
Yeah,
and that's something that like this movie gets across without it being like, here's the main thing of this movie is it's about this crazy time in history where you know, this entire culture was subjugated by this other culture, and these like it's just there. It's just there, and I think it gets the point across better than something, you know, very like didactically going over things and like here's what it looked like, and here's the horrible things they're forced to do. No, you're shown through the course of this story how they're forced to live.
And it's very notable, I think, that Japan was very much an aspirant imperial power. Like they were not within the imperial core whatsoever. You know,
which is another like social strata thing, right? Like they wanted to be like on the big players on the board.
and at this point, you know, Britain's the biggest imperial power, and they're kind of taking a lot of the stuff from kind of the mouth of the Japanese. They've done a lot of like unfair treaties with the Japanese. They have a large portion of, you know, the Korean. Like it's not just Japan that's taken over Korea. They've kind of let Japan have this imperial hold over Korea. At the same time,
we talked about this. Remember, we talked about this in Seventh Samurai, right? And Mishima too, of course. But like, about like Kurosawa's whole thing with that. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to take out track, but like there's a through line through all of it that like some of these great works of art are meant to be contemplative pieces on like the national mood and the things that have happened within the culture at that time.
And you know, I think that like there's a lot of throwaway lines in this that kind of establishes that really well. One of them is Count Fujiwara's character claims that, you know, he was educated in Britain, and this guy, you know, who's trying to be Japanese, he's like, oh, you don't know about Britain? Like in Britain, you know, every young woman is expected to know how to paint, and his scam to get in with her is to be like you know, he's kind of flexing on him. He's kind of flexing on the uncle, even though he's supposed to be in this kind of supporting role as the guy that's kind of just helping him with this book, being like, oh, well, you know, in Britain, which, you know, is the big thing that, you know, more than anything else, because you can't like make yourself into a British nobleman, you know what I mean? Like you can only kind of try to get up the rung to like a Japanese nobleman or whatever, and they still don't have any respect, just like Britain doesn't have any respect for Japan whatsoever.
Exactly. It's all like tiers on a ladder, man, or rungs on a ladder. Sorry.
This is Park Chan-wook though talking about why he changed it to Korea under Japanese rule.
올드보이 때와 똑같이 임승용 프로듀서가 피거 스미스 번역본을 나한테 들고 왔습니다. 그 소설을 읽기 시작한 지 얼마 되지도 않아서 하녀가 아가씨의 뾰족한 이빨을 은골무로 갈아주는 장면을 읽을 때 이미 이것을 영화로 보고 싶다, 이 장면을. 그런 생각을, 결심을 했던 것입니다. 그런데 결심을 하고 나서 알아보니까 이미 BBC에서 그것을 드라마로 만들어서 발표를 했더라고요. 그래서 이건 좀 김이 새는 걸 하는 생각이 들었어요. 그런 다음에는 결국 뭐 우리는 다 한국 사람들이니까 영국이 아니라면 한국으로 옮긴다는 생각을 했던 건 자연스러운 결과죠. 그런데 그런 귀족 아가씨와 하녀라는 그런 신분 제도가 아직도 남아 있으면서도 정신병원이라는 그런 서양에서 비롯된 그런 기관이 또 이미 생겨 있는 그런 시대, 그 공존하는 시대를 찾다 보니 그때밖에 없었어요. 예, 식민 지배 상황에서의 이야기로 바꾼 것은 두 여자 주인공 사이의 사랑에 있어서 그것이 하나의 커다란 장벽으로 작동할 수 있기 때문이었죠. 원작 소설에서의 신분의 격차에 한 겹의 그 장벽이 더 생기는 셈이니까요. 그러니까 이런 식민지 상황이라고 하는 것은 결국 두 주인공의 사랑을 위해서 이제 극복되어야 할 장벽으로서 기능하는 것이고, 또 다른 측면으로는 한반도의 근대성이라는 것이 어떻게 인식되었는가, 어떻게 시작되었는가 하는 문제를 나름대로 좀 들여다보려는 그런 시도이기도 했습니다. 근대성이라고 하는 것은 제국주의 일본에 의해서 강제로 한국에 심겨진 것이고, 또 서양에서 온 문명, 과학과 기술, 이런 것들은 일본을 통해서 조금 변형된 형태로 역시 한국에 이식된 것입니다.
Yeah, it's just like almost complete subjugation of the culture that came before it. You know, it was like, oh, that's not important. That's just like what you primitives were up to.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about that.
And something that I was listening to Blowback, like the podcast that one of the old producers of Chapo and that they do on like different eras of U.S. history that's had blowback. So I was listening to their Korean War series, and there was a lot of like praise in the West about Japanese imperialism and the way that they were transferring modernism and a modern state and kind of forcing a bureaucracy into Korea, which at the time still had a king. Like they had a royal family, that was in there, and the king was constantly trying to make deals with these other powers. Like, oh well, if I get to stay in power, I'll give you oil rights, I'll give you gas rights, you can have this, and kind of selling off all of his assets to these other colonial powers. And the Japanese kind of centralized that and kind of forced them to have this new like modern bureaucracy, pretty much, which is what Japan had too with the Meiji Restoration. Around this like not around this time, but 50 years before this.
Yeah, it's always like, oh yeah, you guys want to be modern, right? Why wouldn't you? Here it is. It's just like
you rubes.
It's so arrogant. Yeah, just it's all part of global domination.
But at the same time, they kind of let it happen in some ways.
Some of this movie is about local domination. Am I right? Yeah.
But in some ways, they also kind of let it happen because part of it was that everybody was so impoverished in the system that nobody had shit to start with. Yeah. And part of the Japanese domination, there's always like the carrot and the stick, right? And the carrot is like, well, at least you kind of have more money, and like we're kind of taking the wealth out of your country through wealth extraction, but like at least now you have an industry of some kind, and at least you're modernizing and you're becoming an industrial state and becoming overdeveloped. But at the same time, if you don't do that, it's like, well, we're gonna sell all of you into fucking literal slavery, and we're gonna fucking torture you, and you get like each finger chopped off, and it's pretty like medieval displays of brutality that in all these colonial powers. I'm not just talking about
absolutely,
yeah.
but for specifically, it is that's the backdrop. It's the setting for all of
Yeah.
this, but it's not the raison d'etre of it, and that's one of the reasons why the story works so well. It's because it's sort of like it's in the air, in the miasma, if you will.
But it's also, I mean, it's ballsy to set it there, I think, because all this stuff is still very much, especially 2016, all this stuff is very much still,
Yeah, it's not like culturally settled or anything. It's like, oh, good,
Yeah.
that's long in the past,
Like the 1930s is probably, I mean, if your family lives long enough, at least, that's probably like your grandparents. Like that's the age of your grandparents. Like this is not a,
that's living
not
memory.
That's like, oh wow, like all these generations ago. Like no, that's 3 generations. Like this was happening, and then generations of fucking Americans kind of basically taking over the Japanese imperial apparatus and kind of doing the same thing for your parents' generation.
I mean, just to keep things in perspective, I knew somebody who knew a slave, it was her grandfather, so like history isn't that long ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I always say my father-in-law is the same age as Superman. He was born in 1938.
Nice.
But you know what? Despite all of because there's some darkness in this movie, and it's the violence and torture and
which is pretty light
oppression.
for compared to some of Park Chan-wook's movies, but yeah, it's definitely there.
but like it was really fun to watch. Like none of that stuff. Every now and then I was like, "Oh, this is horrible," but it was at no time did I want to turn it off. You know what I mean?
It keeps you moving along with the story, which again is so engaging. And just when you're like, "Okay, cool," like I think I got this, it flips the entire table over, and you're like, "Oh, wait, what?"
You mentioned Rashomon, right?
Mhm.
The Kurosawa movie where it gives you different perspectives from different characters telling the story, and that's fun. And I think I wonder if kept waiting for the director to say that was one of the things that drew him to the project, right? Because that is so fun to do, right? To build in a twist and then build in the other twists, right? And
those last 45 minutes wasn't quite what you thought it was.
Right, exactly. But also it's like a beautiful movie to watch. Like I saw a whole interview or read an interview with the guy who color corrected the film, and I kept hoping I did a little bit of research trying to find out if the specific colors red or green, blue, and yellow were intentional or if it just ended up that way. But those 3 colors were central to the entire. Like if you look, there's always blue, there's always green, there's always yellow, and they're totally isolated. It's really unique. It reminded me of those old Japanese paintings.
Well, and then they really leaned into it with the poster art and everything too. I mean,
right.
And what's interesting too about the Japanese paintings with the blue color in particular, that color blue was not native to Japan. It was imported from the only European country that Japan was trading with during the Edo period, which was the Netherlands. And it was known in.
I did not expect that to be the. I mean, like
indigo.
Yeah, they called it actually Berlin blue in Japan, but I think it's known as Prussian blue outside of Japan.
That's not even
there you
go. They're not even getting that from the same
Prussian blue.
From the same country, then.
I thought he was gonna say it's from the Smurf Village, but no.
no. Hey,
they actually, they colonized the Smurf Village, and each
that's crazy.
Smurf, as they stomped them out, right? As
Smurfs were French originally.
Sure.
But I just want to make sure that our past guest and my former Japanese art history teacher is watching and appreciates the research that I'm putting into this. So,
are you trying to get extra credit? Is what?
Yes,
what
from a class I took like 15 years ago.
Yeah. It might be a little bit late, buddy. I don't know.
Yeah, go for it. It's never too late.
So I would also say this too. One of the reasons why this really complicated, interlocked, and interweaved narrative works so well is because of, again, there's these interpersonal dynamics between all these characters. Some of which is some of which is power and status, right? That like, you know, certain people are made to be subservient to others, like sometimes literally, sometimes sexually, and it's something where you have to re-examine what you thought of the process as you see that, oh no, there's more going on here than you originally thought.
Yeah.
You know, the grifter's getting grifted, like the grifter that is grifting is also grifted as well, but it's not about grift, it's about cultural capital, and it does that in such an elegant way that I just can't stress enough that just a movie about this historical time period I don't think is as interesting. Because you get to think that's, I mean, it's really about love and lies too, right? I mean, like, look, we've gotten like 46 minutes in and we've barely talked about the fact that, you know, that this is ultimately like, you know, centered around a lesbian relationship that is, we'll just go ahead and say highly complicated.
Yay.
Right? I mean, like,
and kind of just
So
it kind of just, you know, casually like there's very few things that I would be like, oh, this is like an accidental lesbian relationship.
Yeah.
But like in this movie, it's very much like an act, like it kind of just happened, like they slide right into it.
yeah, well, and in such a,
the
you know,
lesbians.
yeah,
they slide into each other too. But, yeah.
Lots of sliding, yeah. Yeah, but you know, like, and there's a lot of you know, that's again the go back to the brashly horniness of it all. But like, I think that's powerful because it's not just it's vital to the plot, right? It's vital to the plot. There's no movie without it, but it's not the explicit. Well, it's explicit, but it's not the explicit raison d'etre of the entire thing, and that's one of the reasons why it works so well. Because in the same way that the historical context of it's in there, like this doesn't work if it's like just a traditional male-female relationship at this time, right? It doesn't have that same level of it just won't work.
Whenever the his name was Gentleman in the book, I forget his name in the movie, but
Count Fujiwara is what he calls himself.
Yeah.
Whenever he like was being like, you know, trying to be hot or whatever, I was like, that's a real turnoff. Like, you are not, you should not be here. This does not work with you.
It's
like,
so like
I could smell the cigarettes on your breath, right? Like, get out of my face.
The book goes out of its way to like kind of play up the fact that he's like you know, a conventionally handsome Victorian era like nobleman or whatever, you know what I mean? Like
Handsome.
Yeah, but like, you know, I mean, you know, the author is herself a lesbian and is kind of describing this kind of generic nobleman kind of character in the book. But like they kind of play that part up. But this guy was far too creepy to
he's got a resting state of creepiness. Yeah. Well, and
when desperation and weirdness to him that I really liked that the actor that played Count Fujiwara brought, where it's like, you know, if he had kept his mouth shut, you never see him speak, and he's kind of standing up against the wall, you know, in that room full of very, you know, very creepy looking and kind of gnarled old men, and then just him,
gross
you know,
dudes. Yeah.
like he's stuck out in that room. He's playing that crowd. But
and the only other movie that I really see kind of have that get over in such a way that isn't just like hitting you over the head with a sledgehammer is, and you invoked it for, is Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which I think does it, and it does it in such a subtle way that at no point does a character like, you know, does a character like, you know, run on screen and talk about, oh, this creepy dude is being creepy. It's just, it's there. It doesn't need to be. It's like so subtle. And
I was like, I can't enjoy these lesbian sex scenes without this guy being a fucking creep after.
Exactly.
Well,
dude, just chill out. You're gonna get your money. Just fucking fuck off.
So, do you think, because this I guess is possible, but I didn't get the impression that the story was written around a lesbian relationship. I felt like that was part of the story. Like it wasn't like the author, like, and what do you guys think? Like, do you think that the author, Waters was her name? Do you think that she said, okay, I've got this great idea for like a love scene, let's build a story around it? No, right? Like,
yeah, and in the novel it's a lot less you know, I think that they don't jump into it quite as much. Like there's a lot of more teasing, I think, and she keeps it kind of like in this they kind of dive right.
But we're talking about the movie, we're not talking about the novel.
I know, but I'm saying, but you know, they're interrelated like concepts, and also they're not, because
so do you think the adaptation did that? Like said, okay, we're really gonna amp it up and then.
Oh yeah,
that'll
no,
be-
100%. It's nothing like they just like kiss in the novel, and then the thing, you know. But when they're kissing in the novel, they're just going at it.
But I felt
One-
like
one
the
of the-
movie was awesome anyway.
One of the key lines for me for this is what does a crook know about love?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's like key to
Not a
understanding this
damn
movie.
thing.
And then like you kind of like get like some explanation of the answer for about 2 hours afterwards, you know, but it's slowly unfolding with like, you know, almost Hitchcockian turnarounds on all of it.
And I think also the characters in this, right? Like the movie especially, but I mean just anything like this, right? Like the characters aren't thinking about love. Like love is not really a factor in a lot of these relationships. You know, if you're just kind of trying to get by and you're like, you know, impoverished and you're just kind of somebody who's an orphan who's, you know, stuck in like this house and it's not their house, they're kind of just like, I don't think you're spending your life thinking like, I can't wait to find love. Like love is not something that really factors into it for you. In the same way that, you know, a Japanese noblewoman stuck in a house is kind of a caged bird. Basically, it's not thinking, you know, I'm gonna find love. She's either thinking, I want to get the fuck out of here.
But the key is, what does a crook know about love?
Yeah,
And that all you can ever be in life, your status, your station in life is a crook. Right?
Like here's
that's echoed when she says when he's like, is this all that you want for yourself? And she's like, well, that's what my uncle, you know, that's the life my uncle had planned for me. Like there's no, so it's kind of echoed on both stations of that. I do really like that line. I'm just like, I just feel like this movie echoes, you know, the characters echo each other a lot. Like the like, and I feel like we're kind of almost challenged as viewers throughout this, because our reaction to those you know, very vivid lesbian love scenes is in some way like the leering of like the uncle as he's hearing about these stories, right?
Right, because it's almost like the viewer is put into a position of, okay, well, how do you experience this? You know, are you experience this in such a way that it's like just like on the nose, like, you know, creepazoid, or is it something where
you know, because it's shot with this remote camera, because it's shot in a way that's unconventional, you yourself almost feel like a voyeur, like you're left in this role of and you're consuming this love story, you know, that ends up being a love story that I don't think any character expects it to be a love story.
That even at one point you're like, betrayal, you know, like, oh my god, how dare you? Yeah.
But you're consuming this love story as a voyeur at the same time as, you know, you feel judgmental towards the very, very fucking creepy black-tongued ink-tongued uncle.
Yeah,
that's like, I want to hear more. And like by the end of it, you're like I feel grossed out with myself as a viewer, because I have the same, like, I want to know how the story ends, and I want to see, you know, more of this, and I want to see them get away from this, and I want to hear details. I want details. So for him to like keep saying like, no details, tell me the narrative, you're like, oh shit, like that's kind of me right now.
Well, because it's a rare, it sets up
different.
a voyeuristic tendency while also examining the nature of voyeurism itself.
Yeah.
But see, you as a viewer, and this is something viewers always have to keep in mind when they start thinking like that, Forrest, is that you know that there's a runtime and there's an end, and you're anticipating what's going to happen between whatever point you're at and the end. So it's not like you're like, I'm dying to watch this.
But it's in the same way. I mean,
I think Christina's still watching until the end of the world.
but he at the same time is asking like, oh well, you took her, like he's asking for a story, right? Like he's asking for details of a narrative that also has a beginning and an end. He's asking like, oh, you banged my niece through marriage on your wedding night. Tell me what it was like. Tell me like all the details of it. And you realize that you've kind of seen the same thing.
Very normal stuff. Yeah.
Pervert.
What about that wedding
You
gift?
consumed these scenes with her in them as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I just felt like it was kind of holding a glass to the, you know, holding a mirror, I guess, to the viewer. Like you are also this kind of voyeuristic freak for, you know, turning this movie on. You might not even know that that's what you were going to watch, but you're still watching. So you now are tarred with the same.
Yeah, you didn't turn it off. You're now
You're
Yeah, it's
complicit
just
by
cosplaying for a little bit as a perv, but like how about that as a wedding gift, like the vial of opium? It's sort of
exactly.
Here's
What a
your
gift.
cyanide capsule.
There you go.
Let's get married, right? Like just in case, you can always have this out. That was creepy, I thought.
Yeah. Well, and there's a
So
long
romantic.
history of opium as a weapon of imperial domination, right? Like opium being brought into China during the Opium Wars, opium being brought to Korea during, from China. Like there's this long history of imperial domination where opium is the thing that totally dominates a country. And in the same way, he's handing her that gift. He's handing her the way out. So he's just kind of OD. Today we would just give them fentanyl. we're just like, yo, have this fentanyl.
Well, but then
we're getting married. Here's some fentanyl.
Yo,
Something
gotta
old,
start
something
upping your
blue, something
tolerance
borrowed,
now.
something fentanyl.
But there are things that are so simple, like the fact that when you see like,
that's a cop gift. A cop gift is just a cop gives his wife fentanyl, and he's like, "Don't look at it."
Yeah, except he'd like then fall over and like die because he touched a baggie with fentanyl.
Don't even think about it.
But like the big turnaround when you see this reading is like, oh, this is like, and it's this, it's as a child, right? And you see like, oh, this is like erotica. This child is being like taught to read erotica. Like, why on earth is this happening? And then as that piece of the story unfolds,
they literally think conservatives literally think that's what we're doing to kids.
Right? Exactly. That's the drag queen story.
You
hour,
take your
right?
kids to the public schools where they learn to read erotica.
Honestly, at this point, we on the left. We on the left should destroy 4th of July displays, and then at the end be like, "This is how y'all assholes look when you try to destroy a pride display."
And nativity scenes and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll really make them pissed.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I lost what I was.
well, so what I was gonna get with the fact is, as much as it's like very like lush and slickly erotic, right? Like it's also so densely packed with story, but ultimately it comes down to be gay, do crime. Like if you at the heart of it, it's just that like it's such a weaving, complicated narrative that doesn't at the same time. And Matt, you hit something with this. It doesn't seem like work to watch this.
Not at all. Yeah. I was never like, it's long. It's like almost 2.5 hours long, right? But by the end, I was like, come on, I'm not ready for it to be over. And I'm kind of that way anyway. I love long movies, but in this case, there wasn't one point in the movie that was like dragging, right?
Yeah. Like when you get to the only real equivalent of a dude's rock scene that isn't just dudes dressed up in their finest attire to have erections, is at the end it's like, oh, he's basically getting ripped apart, and like we'll tell the story.
Yeah.
What happened next, and you're just like, oh my god, what could possibly happen next? And you're like, there's only like 7 minutes left in this movie. What?
Another crazy thing is that
another lesbian sex scene. There we go. All right.
He's chain smoking. Count Fujiwara is chain smoking throughout it, and when he opens his cigarette case early on, you see the 2 blue cigarettes that have which like that's an insane scene for him to be like smoking the fucking blue. I thought it was like a e-cigarette, like a blue, you know what I mean? Like no, but and then for him to be like at the last moment, he's like, yeah, that's enough that it'll kill 5 men, and you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah. It's a crazy turnaround, right? Because there's so many. Like there's so many things you could just focus on. Like there's real danger. There's there's twists and twist again, and it ends up being something where all of it matters, right? But like you're just left in such a way that it's like, again, you're challenged to think about the idea of voyeurism as you're kind of sort of enticed to be voyeuristic, but then also like the sheer catharsis of like the library like getting just wrecked, right? Like what a great scene, and it's like when it takes so long for it to get there, and you're like, yeah, get it. Wreck that place.
How about when they introduce the cellar, the torture cellar, and they're down there, and she has this horrified look on her face, but they don't show it, right?
Right. And you just because it almost doesn't matter. Seeing it doesn't matter. It's the fact that
you
she
could
saw
hear something though, right? Like
there's
water
some
or something.
There's a giant.
You also realize, you realize it's the octopus later on, like at the end of the movie. You realize she's looking directly at an octopus, which is the thing that for this movie. And I have a clip about this actually, but it evoked Old Boy. And like this movie evoked Old Boy a bunch of times for Park
I love that
Chan-wook.
movie.
Here's the audience's reaction to that scene.
That's awesome. I have an Old Boy door hanger. It was a piece of promotional material that my local video store back in Colorado gave me. They were like, "You're such a fan of it. We thought you liked this." And I just think that's so clever to do a door hanger, like a do
door
not
hanger.
disturb
Wow.
door hanger.
Yeah.
So this is talking about justice and octopuses.
All right, let's lay into it.
저는 옳고 그름이라는 것이 없다. 모든 것이 상대적이라서 그렇게 생각하진 않아요. 그런 상대성이 물론 중요하긴 합니다만은 어떤 행동은 악하다, 어떤 행동은 선하다, 그런 구별은 있다고는 생각합니다. 그러나 사람들을 힘들게 만드는 것은 선한 의도가 항상 좋은 결과를 만들어내는 게 아니라는 데 있죠. 그리고 또 제가 그런 이야기를 반복해서 하는 일이 하나도 이상한 것은 아닌 것이 세상에는 몇 가지 얘기거리가 계속 반복해서 표현되는 거 아니겠습니까? 사랑은 어떻다라든가 뭐 죽음이라는 무엇인가라든가 하는 그런 몇 가지의 얘기거리들은 많은 작가들이 또 같은 작가가 반복해서 여러 번 그렇게 얘기하고 또 해도 지나치지 않는 것이죠. 제 영화에 그 낙지나 문어가 자주 등장하는 이유는 별건 없어요. 제가 특별히 관심을 가진 생물도 아니고요. 그리고 문어와 낙지는 다른 종류죠. 그것은 아주 그냥 그때 작품에 그때 특정한 순간에 필요하기 때문에 실용적인 목적으로 등장시킨 소품들일 뿐이죠. 올드보이에서는 그 생명의 꿈틀거림을 느껴보고 싶은 주인공의 그런 심리 상태 때문에 출연했던 것이고요. 아가씨에서는 호쿠사이의 그 유명한 춘화를 연상시키는 그런 이미지가 필요했기 때문에 출연시켰습니다.
I wanted to have the picture ready. Be like, oh, you mean this picture?
one? Yeah.
It's the one behind. The one behind.
Was it this octopus? Is this your card? No, I mean, like,
There is
tell
this
us,
thing.
Tell us the octopus that did this to you. Was it?
Isn't there a thing? It's like
Oh.
a challenge. I can't remember who does this. It's part of like it's like a final step in training where you have to eat a live octopus and try to keep it from killing you. And that's what the symbolism was in Old Boy. Is that
that's what I feel like this
either-
show's like sometimes.
it's either like samurai or sumo wrestler or something like that, but you would eat a live octopus and it's always trying to kill you, right? Like it could kill you on the way down, but if you eat it out of its misery first, like you win. So that's like it's like a test, I guess, right?
It's fun for the whole family, really. That's what I would say.
It's gross. It's so gross.
Yeah, I'm trying to
But
see.
I will say octopus is delicious.
They're also very intelligent creatures.
Yeah, I
orcas.
really can't eat octopus for that reason. Like,
Squids are dumb as hell. You can eat.
I think
Yeah.
of the boys when I think of the octopus, so I can't eat any seafood.
that seems actually
Fair.
That seems more sad than I thought watching a guy eat an octopus would be. Like and he's like, no, that's my friend, and you're like, and I'm like, this guy's a fucking rapist. Like, why do I feel bad for him right now?
Yeah.
Look
Anyway,
at this cat. He's so happy to be back streaming.
I know.
That's a great cat.
He doesn't want to leave me.
I got Audrey sleeping right there in full.
We should have an Audrey cam.
I should flip to it.
Feel like it's on.
Yeah, but I was trying to find what group or whatever like does that, but there's a lot of stuff about just bloggers trying to eat octopuses apparently, so maybe that's the
It's a thing.
It was in the Old Boy special features. I'll have to go back and look.
Oh, really?
Or
Wow, okay.
maybe it was in the manga because I have the entire manga too. So maybe it was in that. I'll have to go back and look. I'll send you guys an update.
We'll get our top researchers on that. Yeah.
So that's That's what the director said in that first clip that you played, though, is that he was brought this book by the producer, just like Old Boy. So I assume that somebody was like, "You got to read this comic, right?" Which, that's what I say all the time. You got to read this comic. Like that's every other word out of my mouth is that phrase.
Imagine if you had, if you had Park Chan-wook as a friend, and you could be like, "You got to read this comic," and he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna
make a movie out of it." Actually,
the Fingersmith thing is interesting though, because there is a before this movie came out, like right after the book came out, the BBC, different BBC than the porn one, came out with a.
We appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
A very not a lot of BBC in that book, but but the BBC came out with a very faithful adaptation, I guess, that was like so faithful that Sarah Waters, it was like a show, it wasn't a movie, but like they did
it was like a mini series, right? It was,
yeah.
It was like
and I guess it was so faithful.
Probably
She's
shown
like,
on
why would
PBS in this country?
but she was like, why would anyone have taken my book and like adapted it that faithfully? And then Park Chan-wook came up to her and was like, "Hey, can I buy the rights to this book?"
Yeah, hold my beer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So she was like, "You're really missing an opportunity here." Was that
with the
author?
miniseries?
Yeah.
Well,
she was like, "You guys should have gone way."
No, I think she said that she thinks that he captured the spirit of what she was trying to do, and the BBC series captured the letter of literally the letter of what she was trying to do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's sort of whatever. It's a BBC, man. No one's expecting edgy entertainment from the BBC.
Do you think the Count realized?
Again, I should say different BBC then.
Well, at what point do you think the Count realized? Like, okay, so the Count's getting his fingers chopped off, right? Mm-hmm. At what point do you think he realized he had been betrayed by them? Because it looked like at the end, like
I'm ignoring that.
It like the picture slowed down a little bit.
Yeah,
I thought maybe that was his dying realization.
It kind of almost seems like that was like his like his
right at the last second. He's like, "Oh,
yeah. I get
triple
okay.
cross."
Yeah. Like I think he did realize that he got.
The last minute, he's like, "I think those gals were lesbians."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh man, I'm the third
I think they
wheel."
were both gay and did do crime. Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, am I the mark?
Yeah. No, I mean that's basically what
on your way out. Yeah.
What's so powerful about that too is that like and then you get to see him on the boat just going at it too, and it's like, all right, there you go. There's the
oh yeah.
Just in case there was any doubt, like, all right.
Everybody else on that boat too is like, wow, I did not expect this on the cruise.
Yeah, like who's got sleigh bells?
If this boat's a rocking, don't come a knocking.
Right. Yeah.
I also like that they escaped to Vladivostok, which is like the Russian city or whatever. Like they're escaping to like the fucking Soviet Union is what they're doing.
Yeah, and you can still hear the torture scene. You can hear the sounds of it while they're like over top of them making their escape, and she's in disguise. There was another time where you could hear their.
I love that Foley overlap, which is obviously intentional. It's obviously like an intentional move, but
it's very artistic.
The Foley artist truly is an artist, in this film. I actually shouted them out.
Every kind of artist feels like the production designer. Like this film is incredible art. Like the production design on it, the Foley art on this is incredible. Like it feels like this is a movie where everyone's kind of bringing their A game.
Mm-hmm. Well, everything's hitting at such a high level, I mean,
we're bringing their A game. You know what I mean? Like,
okay. All right. There you go.
Yeah. The only thing that didn't stand out, and just because like it's a good thing sometimes when music doesn't stand out, but the music in the movie I don't like. I remember thinking it was fine. It just nothing.
I mean, I really liked when they destroyed the library. That music.
And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying like
that music slapped. The like da, 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 as they're destroying the library. That was the one standout music spot. I think.
Yes. Otherwise, it doesn't do any harm. It's fine. It's good.
No, it does what it's supposed to do. It's
Well, and it's. Again, what I like about it is it managed to be relatively transgressive for a period piece. Ultimately, let's not forget this is a period piece, right? Yeah. Like kind of wild that it's like telling this incredibly complicated interweaving, twisting story that has all these different perspectives and like does so in such a way that I like Magnolia, but like it's definitely like that's more like hit you over the head with a sledgehammer, like sorry, budget shortcuts by Altman, and I say that as a fan, like but this does those same kind of things and never drops the narrative. It just makes you re-examine why you thought the way you thought, the things where they were. In some cases, you're kind of led along to it, but not in such a way that it's blatantly obvious. And so again, one of the things that make it work so well as a work of art for me is that you're left to question yourself and also just be like, oh wow, I didn't see that coming. And if you did, I applaud you, because I sure as hell didn't. First time I saw this, because I was like, oh well, one crazy twist is enough. Like, oh, that's just messed up. Like, there's like movies that could do like one of the 2 or 3 like head fakes that they do in here, and you'd be like, oh wow, that's impressive how they did that. And
every now and then I could pick up on foreshadowing every now and then, especially if you're watching like Hitchcock and you're like, there's going to be foreshadowing, right? I just keep my eye out for it. But like normally I'm just invested. I just sit down and watch, and it's like, you tell me what to see. I'm not going to try and predict anything, but there's no way I could have predicted this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and kind of the thing that I kind of find completely fascinating about this is that as the story goes on, it kind of just revisits the same parts of it and just adds like different context, right? Like there's a scene where he's like in the tree and he goes and talks to her, and he's like, touch my dick right now, and she's like, no, I don't want to fucking touch your dick. What are you doing to me right now? And then he's having that conversation, and then it folds out later where right after that conversation he's talking to he's talking to Lady Hadako in the tree, and he's like, what she just said about you over there? He said that, she said that she feels sorry for you. And like each scene kind of adds a layer of context. It's almost like it's not that they've given you kind of a false vision of what's going on, but each layer of it is a different story that you're seeing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and again, it goes back to that Rashomon effect too, right? And
right.
Park Chan-wook has actually gone on record as being a big fan of that, and like saying like, yeah, that was one of the inspirations for The Handmaiden. By the way, another movie Park Chan-wook likes a lot, Donnie Darko.
Oh, cool.
I can see it.
I love Patrick
I was also
Swayze
thinking
in that
a little
movie.
bit of,
he is so good.
Oh yeah,
I know. Yeah, I think you're the.
I was thinking
Antichrist.
also of Pulp Fiction, like how it's a little out of order too. But unlike Pulp
linear.
Fiction, this was actually had a narrative purpose. Pulp Fiction just did it because it was cool, which is fine.
Right.
You can get
and
if
it
you're
was
Quentin
cool.
Tarantino, you can get away with being just doing something because it's cool.
And you're actually like, if you made a movie, you wouldn't just add like anything you think of that was just cool to it. You'd be like, you know what? Everyone's gonna have a fight, and they're gonna be in suits, and they're all gonna be fighting in like the tuxedos. Why? I don't know. It's cool.
Cause
It's interesting that we bring up Tarantino now because in the Vengeance trilogy, which he didn't even intend to be a trilogy.
right, but they were meant to be standalone movies, and he was sort of
Right.
like, oh, I guess there's kind of like a theme here.
Yeah, it was like
I really like Vengeance, I guess.
Yeah, turns out
yeah,
it's
well,
like-
and it was kind of like some European critics were like, this should be a trilogy. That's what we'll call it. But so I always thought, oh, he's trying to do like a Tarantino thing with these, right? And he has, whether that was true or not, he has really graduated from that. Like with this film, it's amazing.
Right. Yeah, and like Stoker's a lot lesser
that
known.
too.
That one too. Like I think that it's again
Tarantino's
there's
still Tarantino,
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
which is fine.
By the way, you know what they call?
Well, hold on. I actually had a point.
Right,
So
right.
the point is that like he has managed to take the things that made those movies interesting beyond the violence and like the revenge aspect of it, and like turn that around to different kinds of tension. And I think that's not a lot of filmmakers do that, especially if they're coming from the more like, we'll call it grindy, grindhouse kind of like genre. But anyway, go ahead, Forrest.
You know what they call the Handmaiden in France? No, I'm serious right now.
The
Oh,
finger.
I thought this was a Pulp Fiction bit. Okay.
No, I mean it is like I watched it
finger
both,
smith.
but they call it Mademoiselle. This movie was
Oh.
it went around France with the title Mademoiselle.
That's
And
pretty
when
good.
When they premiered it at Cannes,
What they call Old Boy in France.
lay old boy. No, but when they premiered,
I don't know.
it,
I didn't watch Old Boy. Yeah.
when they premiered it at Cannes this time around. All of the promotional stuff is like Park Chan-wook talks about Mademoiselle,
I mean, that's a good title. That's like, ooh, evocative, you know. It's like Le Samurai.
Yeah, well, because I feel like it could go for a servant or a or like a
it works.
I mean, I'm kind of curious what the Korean title was. You know, what if it translates to Handmaiden or if it's something different.
I'd guess it's probably something different. So this is before we go to Letterboxd one-liners. I had one more clip I wanted to play.
Great.
This is talking about Kim Tae-rae's experience doing her first movie and the sex scenes and stuff.
레드 카펫을 밟는 노하우요. 근데 생각보다 제가 갔을 때는 주변이 좀 썰렁해서 막 용서받지 못한 자 같은 경우는 거의 오전 타임에 스크리닝을 해서 너무 썰렁했었어요.
아이고.
그래서 뭐 굉장히 편하네요, 생각보다. 네. 이목 집중도 안 받고 우리들끼리 그냥 기념사진 찍고 그랬었죠. 마찬가지로 추격자 때도 그랬던 것 같아요. 미드나잇 스크리닝이었는데 끝나고 나니까 아주 늦은 새벽이었어요. 정말 취객들 봤어요, 레드카펫 주변에서. 그래서 역시나 크게 특별히 뭐 부담감이나 긴장감은
없었고요.
네. 네, 굉장히 즐거웠었던 기억이에요. 그래서 더더욱이 이번에는 좀 기대가 돼요. 저에게도 처음 아마 경험하게 되는 레드카펫 분위기가 될 것 같아요.
만약 받으신다면 네 만약이요? 만약이죠 그거. 굉장히 겸손하게 말씀을 해주시는데 박찬욱 감독님 생각은 어떠신지 좀 여쭐게요.
그 상을 받고도 남을 연기를 한 건 사실이에요. 그거는 제가 말씀드릴 수 있는데 심사위원들의 생각이 또 어떻게 그 입맛이 어떨지는 또 봐야 하는 거니까. 미니 씨 말고도 여기 있는 사람들은 다 그런 자격이 이 네 배우 모두에게 있을 것 같아요. 테리는 특히 첫 영화가 첫 출연작으로 말하자면 칸네영화제 여우주연상 후보가 된 셈이니까 그것만으로도 상 받은 것처럼 이미 축하할 일이라고 생각하고 그렇습니다.
1,500명이라는 숫자는 저도 기사로 처음 봐가지고 굉장히 놀랐던 기억이 있어요. 저는 되게 마지막에 참여해가지고 뭐 어쨌든 여러 번 이렇게 미팅하고 결정이 됐는데 행복했고 벅찼습니다.
합격 통보는 어떻게 받은 거예요? 문자로 받았어요? 직접 전화로 받았어요? 매니저를 통해서 얘기를 들었어요? 아니면 직접 만나서?
면전에서. 예, 1대1로 얘기를 들었습니다.
그리고 뭐 했나요? 그 얘기를 듣고선 식사를 하러 갔나요?
예, 쌀국수 먹었어요. 감독님이 국수 좋아하시니까.
That microphone. Sorry to get Andy here, but that microphone setup looks like the thing that powers the time machine. I'm like, what is happening with those microphones? Crazy looking.
I feel like Korean, like South Korean TV is pretty wild. Like every time they do promotion for a movie, like we like watch the stuff with Train to Busan when we did that. Like they put the entire cast on stage,
and then just like around. Yeah, okay.
There's that one that we watched where they kept on like making them like play games while they were asking questions, and they're like double question or something.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. But anyway, I mean, it's cool because. Well, I feel like there's obviously we can't call it underground cinema anymore when Parasite won the Oscar, right? But like the fact that like honestly like South Korean cinema is like being taken seriously is a relatively recent modern construct, you know, at least to Western audiences, and it's kind of cool to see all these films be sort of reevaluated and in some cases evaluated for the first time.
Well, and Park Chan-wook is kind of like before Bong Joon-ho, before a lot of like the last few years where we've had a lot of directors, his Vengeance trilogy was kind of the first time that American audiences were kind of just thrown into the madness that is Korean filmmaking, on like a mainstream level. Tarantino was pushing it all the time, like Old Boy and stuff like that. Like obviously they tried remaking it and everyone was like, yo, get the fuck out of here with this remake.
Don't do that.
Like, like we can watch the original one, which the first time I watched Old Boy, I was in a college class and I was not prepared to, for what the movie was going to be. So they just like turned it on freshman year of college.
I mean, it's not like Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and Lady Vengeance are like that much easier watches too. But like, I mean, I honestly, again, I've said like 3 times, but I'll just say it again, paraphrasing that I love that like he went beyond that, and managed to keep like the emotional weight of it with exploring different themes that aren't just explicitly violence oriented.
I mean, but it is interesting that they didn't really invoke those movies throughout his career up until he did The Handmaiden again.
Yeah,
and kind of the most that they've invoked, because they're like, oh well, this is kind of a return, not to these vengeance-based movies that are like ultra violent and stuff, but this is a return to that style of I mean, he's in South Korea, he's not working with like American actors. He's not doing like these South sci-fi projects or vampire projects or like something like that, right? Like, this is a return to kind of his version of like South Korean on South Korean crime drama, kind of vengeance at the center of it. Like there's an octopus in it, which
like he's I mean it's his version of like some of the more out there Hitchcock stuff, right?
Yeah.
Of which Decision to Leave is basically his Vertigo. So it absolutely makes sense because, like, and he's often said he's a big Hitchcock fan.
I think he's finally finding his voice as an artist. Which the other films leading up to it, like playing around with other genres, is him like trying to find his voice and make films that he enjoys too. But I think by this it's solidified like who he is, and we can at this point definitely say like what his films are. Just an update on the title. The Korean title translated into English is Miss.
Oh, that works too. Yeah, okay. Right on. Thank you, Andy. I think we're going to do Letterboxd one-liners now, right, Forrest? Is that what we're doing?
Yep,
okay,
yep.
so of course Letterboxd is a social media site for film lovers who talk at with and to each other about the movies they love, maybe the movies they didn't love, the movies they were brashly horny for. Like this one. And of course all of this
if that damn count would get out of the fucking way.
Just get out of the way. Yeah. All of this is done, no lords, no masters, no Siskel's, no Eberts. Bottom up democracy, everyone gets to have their say. And it's all best expressed succinctly for the purposes of this bit. Keep it succinct. And these are the Letterboxd one-liners for The Handmaiden. Let's go. If that wasn't the most romantic display of amateur dentistry ever put to film, I don't know what is.
Wow.
Contains one of the most darkly hilarious final lines uttered by any character in the history of cinema. Hard agree. Accent on the hard.
Yes.
Does everybody remember the line? Do you remember the line?
Wait, I'm trying to.
At least I die with my dick.
Yes, that's
yeah,
right.
He said, at least I die with my dick intact.
Because he was like, "Oh, now you're soft and slow and foggy or whatever." Yeah.
Yeah. If God hates gays, then why do we keep winning?
That's our Pride Month.
Great.
That's our Pride Month question for all these movies.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is it possible that this movie is doing too much? No.
Nah,
it's fine.
No.
especially not with this letterbox background.
Yeah. they sit nicely. Yeah, exactly. Park Chan-wook is so cool. I'm glad that guy got to die in his goon cave. It's what he would have wanted.
Well, that guy would have hated the internet though. People wouldn't visit his goon cave anymore if they could just watch porn on the internet. You know what I mean? Like,
it's his whole like
ASMR porn. It's basically what it was.
I was gonna say, but it was his whole support system. But yeah, whatever, that works too. Producer, I like your movie, Park, but why is there a fucking octopus in this fish tank? Park Chan-wook, trust me, fam.
I'd like to actually and say a common octopus, because he said in that clip those are different.
It's a big difference. Yeah. Actually,
I still don't know what difference he's talking about, but I can still actually it because
he said it. I learned something today. Yeah. The sexual tension between you and your handmaiden who's filing down your tooth.
It's so good with this background.
I just find it hard. How is that erotic? It seems like it would be painful. I just can't imagine it being sensual.
Well, the whole thing with it is like for a lot of folks, it's like the blending of those two things, right?
I need Novocaine.
Novocaine does not work. When I had my abscess removed, I was still screaming in pain. The poor kids that were supposed to
Need
go after
more
me.
Novocaine.
I had Novocaine not work for me pretty recently, and then the dentist drilled down into my tooth, and then I went to go be like fuck, and I moved my tongue, and then the tongue got hit by the drill.
Oh,
Nightmare scenario.
Yeah, not great.
At least I die with my dick intact.
Doctor, you have 5 minutes to live. Me, knowing full well that the library destruction scene lasts 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Great, that's more than enough time.
Yeah, YouTube wouldn't let me put more than 30 seconds because I upload all the intros first to see if they comply. I only got to put 30 seconds to the library destruction scene.
What?
I had
not
a
nearly
good
enough.
minute. Yeah.
It's a great scene. Lesbian scamming men and staying together is my favorite film genre.
amen.
There you go. Those are Letterboxd one-liners for
That's great.
The Handmaiden. Please, 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 please follow the show. That's Count Flockamora.
It's Count Flockiwara.
He's pickpocket watching and logging all the stuff from the show on there. I am Conan Neutron, aka Crook Love. That could be my rap name too, I suppose. But
There you go.
It sounds like I could see that being an album. Like somebody's yo, this is Crook Love. And it's
Crook Love, yeah,
written
yeah.
like that.
From the
with,
Nooch.
The new show, no. I'm all over Letterboxd watching the highbrow, the midbrow, this populist fare as well. Follow me along with the Criterion Challenge, which I'm going to get back to very soon, I swear. Conan Neutron on Letterboxd. J. Andrew Shunga World is an old man crazy to paint. He's also watching the craziest stuff you ever done see over there on Letterboxd, all the weirdest stuff. So you don't have to, or maybe so you can. I'm not here to judge. I'm just calling balls and strikes. Not the Handmaiden down there.
Calling bells and strikes.
Oh, that's good. That's better. Not the Handmaiden down there. She's just the cleaning lady. She's very busy, you understand. But every once in a while, she jumps on and logs some stuff.
You're one of the people that get slapped on the stairs when she runs inside.
Rough. Matt, I don't think you have. Are you a Letterboxd user? I'm not aware if you are.
No, this is as close as I get to anything like that.
That's
and
fine.
Taking Matthew Film Guy's course because
There you go.
I find myself wanting to write the review before I'm done with the movie.
So
It
you'd be
drives me
perfect for the
insane.
site.
Yeah.
That's what
Too
like half the
perfect.
people do.
Yeah.
Other than to say so and so hot, and that's the review. I'm like, really? That's a review?
Oh.
Okay. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Shunga, J. World, please take us away with the plugs, would you?
All right. If you're watching us right now on YouTube, please do those YouTube things like comment, subscribe, hit that bell. And of course, the big ask is to watch the video to the end. That allows movie fans to find our content. And you get to hear a great Conan Neutron song.
As co-signed by the Letterhack himself.
Absolutely.
Yes. If you're watching us on Twitch, do those Twitch things. Throw us a sub. If you have an
Until we
Amazon
move the
Prime,
kick.
if you have an Amazon Prime account,
Just like they know it was Christina, not me, that interrupted. Thank you.
you can subscribe for free. Doesn't cost you anything, but it actually does help out the channel, and we greatly thank you for doing that.
Yes.
We are on social media. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Ooh, which we have not
Maybe
had
Blue
up the
Sky.
entire show. Yeah, there we go. That's this stuff. Whoops. That's
Maybe
my
one
bad.
Are
day
you guys
Blue
on
Sky,
Blue
but-
Sky?
No,
I wish.
well, she is.
Yes.
I am.
Only the most
Okay.
responsible member is. By the way, second most responsible is next up. That's me.
Yes. But yeah.
Oh, don't give it to him.
Yes. No codes.
I literally said that. I was like, I'm not giving the code.
But yeah, please, if those are your poisons of, if those are your your social medias of choice,
Your opium
Whoa.
of choice.
yes, your opium of choice. Of those,
Definitely the opiate
three
for the
that-
masses, that's for sure.
that we listed. Please follow us there. We put content up there, and it's fun. I think so. We also have a Patreon, and
Well, good. I'm glad you feel that way. Yeah. I don't know why you need to tag it with that, but hey, it's fine. Yeah.
I was looking for a transition to Patreon, and I just couldn't, and that's the best I could do. But we do have a Patreon. Patreon's great. You can see our live show, which we did live in person.
We did
in New York. I have no clue how it came out.
Ring light.
If you had come, maybe we could have gotten 8 people to show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, you can check out our live show where we talk about Mean Streets right after we watched it, which was I had fun. I think everybody who showed up,
good discussion.
Enjoyed it. So yeah, and it was a great discussion. And yeah,
the city that never sleeps.
I love Manhattan. I love
the Big Apple.
And that's the beauty of signing up with our Patreon, is getting access to that.
Sometimes we do after parties as well, don't we?
Yeah,
we're gonna do one tonight.
Like tonight.
Tonight.
Oh,
we're after partying here.
Which
yeah, you can get access to that forever.
Which when I was in the car with Eric on the way to like fucking Caterwall one of the days, I was like, yeah, I live 90 minutes from the city, and in my mind didn't process that like I was in a different part of the country and the city has no resonance.
Nobody in Minnesota cares about that at all. Like,
so
what city?
And he was like this city, and I was like, oh no, like New York City.
Awesome.
There is no other city.
I
definitely New Yorkers definitely think that.
Yeah,
sure.
I had Conan's voice in my ears being like, New Yorkers don't think anywhere else exists.
and nobody outside New York gives a shit. Like seriously, like you cannot possibly imagine how little of a fuck anybody gives about that. But yeah, but I'm glad you heard my voice saying that. But that's hilarious because you were telling a guy who lives in Oakland that too, like that. Anyway,
the city.
Yeah. You're like, what?
Well, I'm just so used to like I don't know, like I'm just so used to being here and using that as shorthand.
I do.
Yes.
I'm just a pizza and I'm just a slice of pizza and a fucking tank top, like that picture that you posted. Like dudes from New York look like this.
Yeah, they look like this. That's got the thing. I seen it. This is good.
Yes.
I'll try to look up for you while Andy gets to the next thing.
You know what else you can see is Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah,
they're so back, baby.
It's I know it's you've been missing it for recently because of Caterwall, but
no, I haven't. I did an episode last night with John Wright of No Means No. Show so much you pay attention. I'm hurt.
Yeah. I pay attention.
That's right. Like
I retweeted it on the show account.
So
2
yeah,
hours late.
if you know the band No Means No, and a lot of people do, I had the drummer for No Means No on to talk about Dead Bomb.
A band about consent. We love it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wish more people knew No Means
Yeah, I wish more people knew what No Means No. Yeah. And this week on Thursday in the normal slot, Tim Jones of Cheer Accident. So legendary musician Tim Jones, very deeply clever, very smart man too. So I'm back at it, baby. Yeah, on the internet.
We're doing it.
There we go. Okay,
I thought it was a drawing. Wow.
No,
it's a real thing that actually happened.
Greasy shirt. Man.
Oh, I'm greasy in here.
Like...
I mean, I'm a greasy guy. What can I say?
Yeah, take a shower.
You're just gonna I thought you can start browsing your Facebook feed.
No, I was hoping to pull up I was hoping to, right before that I was hoping to pull up the one where it was the count joke that I did. Where it was...
Oh, sure. Can I just real quick? I did attempt to look it up while before Andy started doing my plugs. This is what came up for pizza: tank tops.
This is like worst woodwear actually.
Who put my face on a tank top?
You can. The internet has everything. Somebody has thought of it. It's just amazing.
Etsy, man.
It really is.
Well, quote unquote amazing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, kind of depends on what it is. You know what I mean?
Anyway, yeah. Watch my show. Subscribe to the podcast. There's a Patreon $1 a month early access. Thank you.
Yes, and also
what are you gonna do? Spend that $1 on
neutronfriends.bandcamp.com.
I spent it all on pizza tank tops. I got no money left for going to Neutron Show.
I wish I knew about this ahead of time before I spent all my money on the pizza tank tops.
I got so many of them. I got a whole closet full of these tank tops. Oh,
It's like the
I'm
fly
like
over
this, like
here.
the-
You know, I got the same shirt.
There's
My
a
money is
toppings
like a
joke
slice
in
of
there
pizza.
somewhere.
It's melting away.
Your
Anyway.
favorite topping is a tank top? I don't know. I'm working on that one.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
working on it.
We'll workshop that.
It's in there.
We got some.
I'm
time.
working on it. Oh.
But if you like the theme music, go to neutronfriends.bandcamp.com.
Wow. Quick.
I think there were so many of these this week that I feel like I'm like, old news. Oh yeah, nobody's seen these. That's right. I forgot. Anyway, go follow what Andy said, not what's on the screen, which is go to neutronfriends.bandcamp.com and buy my stuff. Thank you.
One patron. Two patrons on Protonic Reversal.
Yeah, we did some playing the Neutron Friends, Caterwall and in New York, and that was good. It's nice to get back at it. We're playing in Chicago on Saturday. I'm just gonna do my own plugs.
Yeah,
we're
go
playing
for it.
Chicago Saturday with Biggin and Heat Death, who are fantastic bands in their own right, and Interesting Bricks. And I got a bunch of other stuff I'm going to be announcing later in this big game month that it's coming up too. So
Yeah, Heat Death is a lot of fun too. So
they're great.
And totally
they
raw.
were they were one of the fucking craziest sets that, you know.
You wouldn't think that like those two could cause that much of a ruckus, but they do, and I love them for it.
It was also like 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. when they played too.
Oh yeah, and they set it off. It was just
like
yeah,
yeah.
it's
Oh wow, midday.
Yeah.
And they were playing like they were closing out, and it was great.
Mm-hmm. And that's they don't know any other way to be. So
yeah,
That's
no,
great.
At one point they got on top of one of the drums, and she was fucking playing on the drum like.
I mean, it's my drums. I was definitely like, all right, let's keep it sustained.
I was watching the Flipper set earlier when he fucking fell backwards onto your drums.
Oh God, yeah. I was just like, oh God, please be okay. But also,
All right,
please drums be okay.
We gotta get to all this stuff in the after party. We gotta this where we gotta talk about, because I want to talk about Caterwall in the after party for sure.
Sure. Sounds good. Reason to tune in.
Yeah, that does sound very good. But Christina, you have a great Twitch show.
Yeah, according to Twitch, not so much.
Well, I mean, does Twitch respect anybody?
I'm just another Amazon employee at this point. That's what it all
Peeing in
comes
bottles.
down to.
A lot of streamers do. They're streaming.
Yeah, they just pee in bottles now.
Sometimes it's easier.
I'm being here.
Oh, I'm micturating here. Thank you, micturating. Was that her plug, Andy? Was that Christina's plug?
I was going to ask what was coming up, but
Jesus.
I'm covering all the. Oh, also too, today's Twitch is like 12th anniversary, and I'm like, what a way to really kapooey your platform on your birthday. So.
It's my birthday, and I will destroy my platform if I want. You know, like they used to have my Super Sweet 16 or something, and it was that's a version of that. Their new service agreement.
Yeah, they're like Elon Musking it up there.
It's the worst kind of cologne I've ever heard, Elon Musk.
You gotta get Jeff Bezos some money.
But you said you're going to cover.
To have like a platform owned by the richest man in the world, and he's just like, I don't think I'm getting enough ad revenue from these struggling content creators.
Pretty much.
You said you were going to cover.
Oh, all the Twitch is like screwing us over with like charity streams and event streams and ads and stuff like that. So I'm going to cover all the crap. Everyone's mad. Everyone hates it. They're like, you did it again. So, yeah.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah. So if you actually want to know what's going on and what we're actually talking about here.
Yeah, because I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
That sounds awful. I don't know. I've been busy.
Basically, we can't promote Sam Cedar's Cedar Seeds on Twitch anymore.
Oh, I see.
They make it just the rule about that.
It's very specific. You would expect it to be that level of specificity, but it really is.
He must be devastated.
Yes.
Wow.
That's good. Jeez.
I
agree.
It's
I
a
agree with
restaurant.
that.
It's a restaurant owned by a cop.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. It's still not good.
Oh.
Like, that's what I do
40%
in my
of-
retirement. I opened up my White Peter's Pizza over here.
40% of our topics may or may not be beat.
Now he's the top Google search.
All right, next. What's that? What's that?
So Matt, you have a podcast that on Mondays.
Yes, Monday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time at youtube.com/theletterhack. I'm interviewing independent left-wing media types while drawing them live. I had David Sirota, Benjamin P. Dixon, Jessica Burbank, The Rational
Zeke
National.
Gonzalez, who's the clipping king.
Zeke Gonzalez is my go-to when a guest can't make it at the last minute. He's great.
I literally had nothing else to do.
Yeah, I've got.
I feel like that's
The
a very
humanist-
that's a very putting him in his place kind of thing. You're like, he's my
That's-
go-to when the other guests, when the bigger guests can't make it.
That's exactly how we sell it. He and I have a rapport. It makes sense. This week I got Mike Figueredo of the Humanist Report, and after that Ravana, and then after that
I remember Ravana.
I
should hit her up and see if she wants to go on Saturday. Shoot, I forget she lives in Chicago sometimes.
But I've got them
don't.
lined up through
Talks about it all the time.
August. I've got guests lined up all the way through August, so I'm extending it. Now I'm going to start doing it on Wednesdays as well because I've got so many invitations out there that I'm going to do it twice a week.
That's it. As long as you don't compete with our show, we're good.
Yeah, and
we'll bury you if you do.
The only time I did a Tuesday stream, and I said the only reason I'm doing it on Tuesday is because these guys aren't doing it. Because Movie Night Extravaganza took the night off. That's the only way I'll do it Tuesday. Don't worry.
Hell yeah.
Respect. We appreciate that. Thank you.
And
likewise,
we
stay away
fucked you
from
over by
Monday.
not inviting you until now.
I'm
No
always
problem.
available on Tuesday because I'm not doing anything because you guys are. So if you need somebody at the last minute, just let me know. I'll watch the movie that day. It doesn't matter.
I mean, look, Conan's gonna be going on some he's gonna have some shows on days that we have things, so we could
It has happened and will happen again, guarantee you.
Well, I can
Yeah.
fill in, but I'd be no substitute for that guy. But I will.
I like
I'd
this
be
guy.
happy to fill
I'm
in.
usually
He can come on
responsible for
anytime.
Letterboxd and one-liner, so we're good.
Yeah, I mean, technically speaking, Christina's my understudy, but
You guys are a great
always
crew. I love the dynamics on this show. You're being considered for multiple Letterhack awards.
Hell yeah.
wow, all right.
Yeah. No, there's a real Letterhack committee.
And then we
award
could be the
committee.
award-winning podcast Movie Night Extravaganza.
Exactly.
The Letterhack Award winning.
I've got a committee of global members. They're
believe
from
it.
all
I've
around the
seen 'em.
world. It's
I've
awesome.
been on the stream.
Yeah. It's real. It's real, but ultimately it's fake. But we take it seriously.
Yeah. Well, that's what
Well,
Sam
all you
Cedar
have
did
to have,
get,
all you have to do to have an award is to say this is an award. Like, there's
Exactly.
no, I don't
Yeah.
think there's a
Yeah.
qualifier for an
Look,
award. Like,
Christina and I
here-
ordered a fake Oscar for Katie Byron. It doesn't
Oh,
take that
there
much
you
ever.
go.
It costs like
Yeah.
$9.
I can do that.
Yeah.
the only fake award is fucking participation trophy. That's the fake
Right.
awards with the kids today and their avocado toast. Besides that, everything else is up for grabs.
They're all busy
Well,
twerking. Yeah.
You know how Sam Cedar sold
catch
Who's
me
the Caboose?
next week on Bill Maher as I
Saying exactly those things, but earnestly. What's that, Andy?
How Sam Cedar sold Who's the Caboose? He created a fake award, gave it to gave it to his own movie, and then you're like, "Hey, it won this award," and everybody's like, "Oh wow, that's impressive!" And that's how
Take note.
the movie picked up by a distributor.
That's amazing.
Picture the award is an octopus statue.
Oh, good one.
Yeah, it's good. The golden octopus. The golden common octopus? Is that what he said it was? He was real adamant about it.
Well, it's the golden octopi.
Hmm.
We regret the error.
No, I just
Excited
feel like
to
that. I just feel like that's a better name for an award to be like, this is the golden octopi.
Pie art.
It does sound impressive. Yeah.
This is the golden octopussy. Not as good. That doesn't sound like a real award.
I feel like you may get a suit filed against you for calling it that, but
So, yeah, it's a James Bond award for Octopussy.
these plugs have to be
Final
over
thoughts?
at this point, right? Are the plugs over? What's happening?
Yeah, I don't even know if the plugs are still going on. What's happening?
No, I'm done.
If you
I'm
don't
done.
know, we're really boned. Yeah.
I don't have
Subscribe
an
to my
ending for
channel.
this thing yet.
you gotta have an ending where like we play you off. You're like, like it goes for too long. It's like
It starts getting louder and louder. Yeah.
Oh, I guess that's my time. They're playing me off.
If Andy goes, that's my time. I'll doing the plugs.
Sorry,
Wow.
Jack.
Well,
that's
my time, folks.
But Matt, do you have some final thoughts to contribute to this wonderful, this wonderful evening?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. This
Yeah,
was
thanks
so
for coming on,
fun.
man. It's been great. Yeah.
I've been like trying to kick the door down, begging, come on, and you guys finally listened, and I'm so thankful. This is so much fun. I would do it anytime. But as far as the film goes, you gotta appreciate a film that entertains you and gives you something unexpected, and is also beautiful. And you can watch it for any of those or all of those at once, and it's almost painful that it was subtitled because I wanted to look at stuff so bad. So it was really great that I got to rewatch it, kind of knowing what happens already and understanding the scenes and how they work, and being able to just take in the backgrounds and the sceneries, because that's a really important aspect of this film.
100%
For
agree.
sure. I do really like though that they differentiated between the like the yellow Korean and
Yeah, more
white
people got to do
Japanese,
that.
like,
It's crazy that doesn't happen more, right? That's crazy.
It just seems like it makes so much sense, right?
Yeah.
and it makes you feel like one thing you're kind of watching is more like almost golden, right? Like because they have the Korean subtitles are the white ones, I think, and the Japanese were the yellow, so it's almost like that's like the golden language, and then
Like a class thing.
Yeah. So I kind of found that interesting too. Because like just the Korean is just like the white, right? Like it's just like the plain, like the basic, what everyone's kind of speaking to each other, and then the other one kind of has like some kind of elevation to it. I mean, not like literally, but like color wise, I'd say.
Yeah.
But Conan, you got some final thoughts?
Oh wow, I'm going. Okay, cool.
I always switch up the order. The order's always
keep guessing as much as the plot line of this movie, I guess.
Yeah.
This is a film that is about deception and perception, right? And there's a lot of stakes here, a lot of intensity building, an astounding amount of revelation. I mentioned the Rashomon effect earlier on. I stand by that. It is indeed brashly horny. Probably don't watch it with your parents or roommate. But I think it shows love and lies in ways that will make you think you have it all figured out, and then you find out that you don't. And I also love how it managed to tell the story of the occupation of Korea in the 1930s almost as a sidebar, with the blind ambition of trying to be more Japanese as cultural capital. And that's just the backdrop to all this complicated interpersonal dynamics and endless grifting, basically.
And then just like slipped in like two different areas, the whole like British connection. That's like the fact that gets referenced like twice. You know what I mean? When everything else is referenced, his desire to be Japanese is kind of more heavy-handed, I think. And then on top of that, it's like, well, I went to England, and in England, they teach bitches how to paint. So, just saying.
I think the whole thing works because of the brilliant twisting and winding story and the genuine stakes you get from the characters, which are very complex and played to perfection by the leads. And it's the sauciest masterwork that I've seen in a while, for sure. And it's at this point in time my favorite Park Chan-wook movie, and I'm really glad we covered it. And I'm glad we are using it to kick off the Pride Month.
Yeah, and it'll be cool to talk about what other movies we have coming up in that after party. But Christina, you have some final thoughts? There's lesbians. They're going at it. There's a bell.
Oh, they're all busy, these lesbians.
Ring a ding ding.
This is a film that the lesbians should watch, and that's all I'm gonna say.
It's a real girls rock movie.
Kind of is.
Yeah.
Feminism.
They win in the end. They win.
Yeah.
And the feminism is international too. It's
Yes.
like international lesbian solidarity. Andy.
I loved the fact that this actually was not only a fantastic movie, but like the seventh thing down from like all the other stuff that it is, and also touches on art history, which is freaking incredible.
Right.
Yeah. So it got me really excited because how often is Hokusai actually like mentioned in a movie? Not very often. Just so people know, the man is literally the father of manga. He actually had a folio printed called Hokusai's Manga, which basically translates into random pictures. And that's really what it was. But he also did he illustrated books, and all of his work in total is essentially what helped, was the forebearer of what manga as what we know of today became. So there's a very
we
important...
talked about him briefly when we talked about Rand, right? Like we had a conversation.
Yeah, we've touched on him before. He's an important figure in Japanese art history, and to understand his history of that region too. But it's so nice that like that's just like a minor thing, and like a movie that's doing so many other things. That's it makes you want to watch it again, which is kind of exciting because you don't always want to rewatch a movie, right after you watch it.
Well, I think there's so many movies that like fail to do one thing well. So when you see a movie that does this many things well, it's
and that's why the fucking bullshit Letterboxd for this. Like, is this movie doing too much? No, no,
exactly.
Fuck you, Letterboxd user.
Yeah, that was the like the big yellow wiffle ball bat and the underhanded pitch for us on that one. It's like, I knew what the answer to that one was gonna be.
I missed when we used to do the thing where it was like, well, I guess it was just Andrea that did this like the couple of times that she came on, but like when we would just like shame Letterboxd users that didn't.
Oh yeah, she would get real personal about it. Yeah.
But we are going to jump to the after party, and
that's right.
It's going to be a fun time.
We're going to talk about some Caterwaul stuff, right? We'll recount some Caterwaul experiences. We'll talk about the other movies coming up this month, of which there are numerous. I don't even know all of them. I mean, I haven't been paying attention either, but that's me.
And we will be over in that zone.